So we go through Chichen Itza and like ignoring all the spirituality, you've seen it, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, why is it just vendors?
Oh yeah,
It
yeah, on the
looked,
side. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
bro, nobody told us this. I was like, what's going on? So it was just like Cambodia. Like if you go to Cambodia, it's very similar,
Mm-hmm.
except the fact that, well, I guess in Chichen Itza, they're not on the grounds either. Like they're right at the,
They're
like
right at the in
right,
the hallway part, like the
yeah, like
yeah,
the
not in the
furthest the closest they can
yeah.
get without actually disturbing the grounds.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of how it is in Cambodia too. And like people just come up to you, but I was like, oh, I get it. You're just trying to make money off of tourists because you guys need money. So then I was kind of like, all right, whatever. Like the dude that conned us for the $20, like, sure, like that's your, like, sure, that's your karma. And like, you probably just really need the 20 because I don't know what it's like over here. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And like, it just made me realize that with all this spirituality, all this tourism, like nobody cares, bro. We just care about money. Like you're literally not defacing, but you're like not paying any reverence to this giant
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
thing. And they're just like, who cares, bro? We just want to get cash.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is like the real mindset of people.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you could be like, hey man, you know they used to worship people here? Hey man, you know aliens built this? Hey man, you know, like whatever. Not that aliens built
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
but you know
yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
trying to say.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
you could say
yeah,
like
yeah.
this crazy stuff. Like,
Yeah.
dude, the world
Sure.
works like this or whatever. And they're just like, I don't care, I need to eat.
Yeah.
It's wild though. And you're like, oh, that's why a lot of people in North America even they don't care about aliens, bro. They just care about feeding their families and just like living.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just such a shock to my system because it's like, oh, you guys don't care at all. And then
Mm-hmm.
it made me think like, why do I care so much?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And it's like, I guess it's just the things that we care about, you know? Like,
It's the privilege that we have in that sense.
yes,
Okay.
right? And you're like, knowledge is a privilege. Nobody cares, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like shocking. And it's weird because
Yeah,
like
because
even
it's not gonna make a difference in our life if we know that or not. How am I?
right?
How's that gonna help me feed my kids? Right.
Bro, but it's so obvious there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, do you know that? Do you know that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are like they're feuding out? We don't actually know how the world's gonna work. It's like, can I steal your 20? That's really what they care about. You're like, oh my god, like you know. But it's a simpler mindset. Like earlier, we were like discussing, you know, naming, and we're like, and then you and I had this point. We're like, why do we care about names?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like that's what they're thinking too. They're like, you guys are so
Yeah.
dumb. Why do you care about
Yeah.
names? Like,
Exactly.
I just want to eat. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
and it is like all of these things are such a privilege
Mm-hmm.
to be able to even philosophize about it, to even be able to like argue about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're so lucky that you can argue about it,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But I think the funniest part was like, or like the most like shocking part was we were on the resort and it's like all inclusive, right? So you're just like, oh, people are so nice. We can like eat whatever we want. And then the second we stepped out, it was like, no, this is reality.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting. The juxtaposition between like the extravagance and like the reality on the ground of
Mm-hmm.
people just like living,
Yeah.
you know? It's weird. Yeah, another thing, you probably didn't go to Koba. It wasn't very, have you heard of Koba?
I think I heard of it, but I don't know. We didn't go there. It was just Chichen Itza, and there was like a cave
Yeah, the water thing. We didn't do
water
that one.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, my boss is actually like the one who recommended Koba. So it just got kind of discovered-ish, like relatively recent. And when we went there, we were like talking to the tour guide and stuff. It's basically in the forest. It's in the
Yeah.
jungle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you can go through it. It was awesome because like it wasn't like Chichen Itza. There wasn't
Mm-mm. Mm-hmm.
because it's not famous yet. It's still being like excavated. So like tours don't really run there. Tours do, but it's not the same as like Chichen Itza.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy was telling us that like this was a giant city and it was like thousands of years old and it actually connected to Chichen Itza. And he was saying that it's kind of like, and it made me think of here where it's like you have like North York, downtown Toronto. He's like, there was a highway and he showed us the highway. It's like just an elevated path. And he's like, that path will take you to Chichen Itza if you just walk it.
Hmm.
And he's like, there'll be merchants on the road. I'm like, oh, it's like any city, you know, like you have like the downtown core and then you have like the
Hmm.
suburbs and then
Hmm.
you just, but that's what Kobe is. He's like, it's just a big city, you know, that connects to the main city, which is Chichen Itza,
Hmm.
you know. And the interesting thing too was that there was this giant pyramid there and we're like, oh, how tall is this pyramid? And he's like, it's bigger than Chichen Itza. So this pyramid in the jungle is bigger than Chichen Itza, but it's not as famous. And the thing that was interesting about it was if you look into pyramids, the original, like the oldest pyramid that we know of is the Egyptian pyramids, right? And then around the world, they started, he was like, oh, they erected this pyramid. I'm like, what's the pyramid used for? He's like, oh, worship. Okay.
Hmm.
But if you look into now, what contemporary scientists like are starting to realize is that the pyramid could have just been a power plant. Okay. Like in Egypt, like
In Egypt, right, right,
a
right.
generating source of energy. Like a lot of it lines up. Like if you're walking through the shaft, it's so small, but it's like, why would people walk through this? Like, no, we're walking through the energy shaft of like where they would shoot the energy or whatever, or like the steam. I think it was like a hydro plant or something because there's water underneath. Anyways, so it's funny when he's like, oh, it's for worship. Because then it made me think of it this way, which is like, imagine if 10,000 years from now, like we were wiped out and all you saw were power plants. Like
Hmm.
the Pickering power plant. You saw these silos. And then people were like, "Oh my god, these things are amazing." And they started replicating these like mini silos
Hmm.
and they started worshiping it. I'm like, the whole cargo cult idea of like there was a civilization here that was super advanced and then we didn't really know what that science was, so we called it magic. We started worshiping them. But then if you know what technology is, you're like, no, that's just a power plant, bro. And then now, thousands of years later, we're watching the remnants of people who worshipped power plants.
Hmm.
When you think of it like that, it's like, are we just dumb as a species? Like if I went back in time and I was like, hey, here's a phone, maybe like, oh my god, that's
Yeah, I was
magic.
about to say that. Yeah, I was about to
Right?
like,
You'd be like,
of course, yeah. I'm
and
God.
then they right, dude. No, but that's the Anunnaki story, which is like these aliens came and they just like populated Earth because they're like, oh, this is a habitable place. And then these like lower hominids who didn't really know what technology was were like, oh my God, you're gods. And they're like, dude, we're not gods. This is just technology,
Hmm.
you know? And it's like, I really believe in that story now because it makes the most sense. If there's so much life in the universe and then we just interacted with a life form back in the day and then it just created a cargo cult. Like, do you like, why are you worshiping a pyramid?
Hmm.
Like these people in Mexico, like why are you worshiping a pyramid?
Right.
What is the significance of a pyramid? Except for that you saw us using it, you saw the aliens using it, and you thought it was something special,
Hmm.
right? It's like worshiping an iPhone, same thing,
Right. Yeah.
you know? Yeah, I think we're like a confused species. As I'm like going more and more about it, it's like, why do we care so much about stupid things when like survival's what they care about in Mexico? Why do we worship these giant towers when they could literally just be, you know, power plants
Hmm.
or like something we've confused with
Something. Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
deity? You know
Right,
what I mean?
right, right. Yeah.
And then you're like, what do we believe in life? Like, what is there to believe in?
No, but yeah, that's just a story that you make that you believe. That's
I
what it
know,
is.
dude, I know, right? Life is just a story you tell yourself. And every time I just keep seeing it more and more. It's like I had that revelation like in 2018, like in Baraka, I was just like, dude, we're just lying to ourselves. Like
Hmm.
I came out of the water. I was like, dude, I do this like death meditation thing where I like pretend like I'm dead, where I'm floating in the water. And then my sister, I was like, oh, I got it. And then I told my sister, and she's like, that's weird. Like that's like kind of scary and freaky that you're just like life is just a story you tell yourself. But it's true though.
Hmm.
It's like other than that, what else is there?
Hmm.
You know, if you found out that it's true that they worship a replica power plant, you're like, that's stupid. But for the Mexican people, the Mayans back then, they're like, no, this is like a holy thing. And then now you have like at Chichen Itza people doing cartwheels in front of it and like posing, trying to do like
Oh,
cool
right.
travel. You know what I'm saying? Like I was just watching like tourists be like tourists, you
Yeah.
know? I'm gonna do a
Yeah.
handstand. I'm gonna do a handstand right now. And like picture me here. And there's one girl who was like half naked, and me and Taylor were kind of laughing because she was like posing like really, really sexy. And we're like, dude, it's in front of Chichen Itza. It's like, you don't even care, bro. You know, these people like worshipped, you know what I mean? It's like, if those people saw now what had become of their place, they'd be like, ooh, you know.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
It's almost like if we did that to the Vatican.
Hmm.
Actually, that was Tara's hot take. She's like, the only reason why we don't do that now to the Vatican is because we're using the Vatican.
Hmm.
But if we didn't use the Vatican anymore, you know there'd be like half naked women just being like, I'm in the Vatican. You know?
Right.
Like, or jump, make it look like you're holding the Vatican up.
Sure.
You know those photos where you're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like your hand up and like it's almost like you're holding the building in your hand.
Hmm.
But it's like, oh dude, that's sacrilege. Why? Because it's still believed to be holy
Right.
until it's not.
Hmm.
Right? Weird, man.
You see the arena next to it?
Okay, yeah, I did, but that's all replica, eh? Like I heard the tour guy saying that like most of this is just like recreated um like stuff. Like
Mhm.
it's not actually that nice. It's like broken down.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
right, right.
Wait,
But
but you're saying.
no, because I was saying like even within that, that's where people got their like if they lost the game,
They'd be dead.
it was an arena. Yeah, their heads
Yeah.
would got chopped off. So.
And we're all like,
That's what I'm like. I'm like, this is
picture
where
me like
people
this.
died.
You know? Hands up, hands up. You know, like 1, 2, 3, Chichen Itza, Chichen Itza.
Right.
It's so
Exactly.
funny because you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
dude, like, what happened?
People died
Like,
here.
I don't know, like it's almost like it's just too recent. But if we went to like Auschwitz and we're like, 1, 2, 3, Auschwitz, you know what I mean? You're like, dude, the Holocaust is right here.
Hmm. Hmm.
But it's like, oh, it's too recent.
Yeah.
But if it's 1,000 years later, it's like,
Sure. Yeah. We forgot
this
the
is what the
meanings.
Holocaust was.
Yeah. Exactly.
Dude, that's crazy though, right? It's like everything is a joke.
Hmm.
Like you know, like nothing is serious or sad. Like life is either a comedy or a tragedy, but like it's like we really don't care. Like spirituality is so funny in that way that it's like these these deities come and go, bro. If we died, where would Zeus be?
Hmm.
Zeus needs us to believe in Zeus.
Hmm.
It's like Tinkerbell. The moment you stop thinking about Tinkerbell, she dies because she's a figment of your imagination. Just like all these things,
Hmm.
you know? So then what is real, you know? Earth?
No, even within the old ones, it's. I think the issue is. I think we misunderstand even the word worship. I think it's more like venerate because these are representations of certain things, right? I'm talking about the Greek gods and things. Like if it was Zeus, it's the lightning. So you're venerating
Oh, I see
the
what you're saying.
power
It's like,
of
yeah,
the lightning.
like an anthropomorphization of an element.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, if we died, the Earth would be the only thing that's still around. Like lightning would still be here, like
Mhm.
all that stuff.